Hello again. I'll present active salinas Atanasovsko Lake and coastal habitats management. The presentation is prepared together with my colleague Spaso Zunat, who is conservation officer in the Lagoon of Life project. And for those of you who are not here, I have to say where is Atanasovsko Lake. Is located on the Black Sea coast, and Atanasovsko Lake is part of the Burgas wetland complex, one of the most important wetland complex for waterfowl bird species. Not only in the Black Sea coast, but in Europe. Atanasovsko Lake is located on the north of the city of Burgas. It is Ramsar site. The northern part is methane reserve. The southern part of the lake is protected site, and the whole lake and the adjacent agricultural land, it's Natura 2000 site declared by both directive, Bird and Habitat Directive. Atanasovsko Lake is a modified ecosystem. It was used as salinas since 1906, and this modification make the lake so important for biodiversity and one of the most richest biodiversity place in Europe. Atanasovsko Lake is the richest birthplace in Bulgaria with its 334 species that can be observed here. But human support is very important to maintain this rich biodiversity and this ecosystem, amazing complex of birds and habitat. There are 3 coastal habitats in the Natura 2000 site. The largest one is a coastal lagoon habitat. It's priority for the conservation habitat. In here in Atanasovsko Lake is the most representative site in Bulgaria, and second most representative after Danube Delta in the Black Sea biogeographical region. Its status is unfavorable bad, and the other 2 habitats, Mediterranean Sea, salt meadows and Salicornia and other annuals, they have very small coverage, but they have important roles. The first one is in favorable bad status, and the second one is in the favorable status. What happened? And it is interesting to see that Atanasovsko Lake in the context of the Burgas city. In 1906, when the southern part of the lake was turned into salinas, the lake was outside of the city of Burgas, and Burgas was a very small city. In 1946, when the northern part was also modified as salinas, the lake is in the periphery of the city, and nowadays the lake is within the city because surrounding villages turned into the satellite districts in the last 10 years, and Burgas is not a small city, is the 4th biggest city in Bulgaria, the most very important industrial tourist center. And today the southern part of the lakes is located in the urban core, and the northern part of the lakes is in the urban periphery and in the rural one. Atanasovsko Lake keep the traditional extraction of salt, which involves solar evaporation of seawater and gathering the salt once per year. Usually the salt is harvested from the beginning of August till the end of December, and the period is so long because here the salt is still gathered by hand. Water supply is very important for the salinas. Atanasovsko Lake is the lowest point of the catchment area of 250 kilometers. That's why The row of bypass channel here on the right, you can see on the map. It's very important because it collects all surface water from the small temporary rivers, from snow melting and from rainfalls, and it discharges to the sea. The red channel, it's drainage channel where the water is pumped to the sea, and this channel in black and into white and red is sea channel with, which supply the lake with the seawater. For the need of the salt production, the lake is separate of 170 basins. And the salt production infrastructure is 151 kilometers. These are dikes, barriers, and internal channels. What are the water conditions in the salinas? Here on the map you can see the salinity gradient, and I have to say that in the first basins the salinity is the same as the Black Sea, and here I say that to produce salt is real art because Black Sea is double less salt in comparison to Mediterranean Sea. Water supply of seawater is controlled, and it's in spring and in the summer. Water also is controlled in each basin. Each basin is very important. What is its water levels and salinity, and here the water circulation and water levels are opposite to the natural cycles because there is high waters in the summer and low in the winter, and and there are no connection between northern and southern part of the lakes, which are two separate water bodies. To plan our restoration activities, we have to know the threats and their impact. The first one is the effects of climate change, and there were floods first in 2010, which destroyed more than 1/5 of the old traditional infrastructure. The bypass channel was blocked from the vegetation, the protective dike was broken and replaced, and during this period of time, the whole lake was like a freshwater lake. The other problem is pollution from the agricultural land that caused decline of the condition for the aquatic organism. Urbanization is also a big threat here, close to the Burgas and very close to the sea. It caused habitat loss and increase of the human presence, water and noise pollution. And the last one, but not the least one, is abandonment of the less profitable this traditional salt production, and labor shortage, which caused not maintenance and destruction of the traditional salt production infrastructure, and also disturbance of the water regime. Our goal is to ensure the full-scale restoration of the ecological processes supporting this unique biodiversity of Atanasovsko Lake. That's why we implement different conservation actions, and we improve the protection against the flood and decrease pollution from the surface inflow by the first ever complete cleaning of the bypass channel. We also repaired the protective dike, forming a road for a quick access in the case of an emergency situation, and for regulating and controlling the seawater, we restored the main sluice gate. What happened? For the restoration of optimal water regime, it was developed a system for active management of water levels, water circulation, and salinity. This system includes repairing of the three of the most important earth dikes in the northern part of the lagoon. You can see them here on the map. And by this, we want to prevent the formed dead water volumes in these big basins. We clean the internal south channels from the silt. We repair 35% of the total traditional self-production infrastructure in the Frame the Life project. And this includes restoration of the wooden barriers, restoration of small dikes, and the restoration of the earthen dikes. And to compensate labor shortage, now the wooden barriers are replaced by small dikes. But in the future, it's not possible to maintain this infrastructure without promoting this added value, the salt from the protected area, and without the alternative use of the natural products and services. What happened? We restore the typically representativeness of coastal lagoon habitat by colonizing 3 basins with the salt-tolerant water plant species, Rupea maritima. It's a new action here. It was tested 3 years. We had 1 year without success, but the last 2 years we have a success. And it's an innovate for the Atanasovsko Lake actions to increase the breeding and roosting site of the bird species in the lagoon. And here you can see the new 16-hectare freshwater habitat for great beater that were restored. Till the end of our project, they have to be 24 hectares. And on this map, you can see what is the change of development of the city. With the red color, you can see plans for the construction of high-speed roads and also plans for housing and industrial development in the Natura 2000 site at Atanasovsko Lake. That's why for us it's important to involve all stakeholders in management process and to mitigate this threat. My colleague Radu spoke for this. And we participate in spatial planning, and we also demonstrate and promote ecosystem services of Atanasovsko Lake to the citizens and to tourists of Burgas in order to create attachment to this area. And our restoration success was very obvious. The whole area of the lagoon was protected from the flood. We had floods in 2014 and then 2018, bigger amount of water, but bypass channel during this time can safely conduct the large volume of water. Now, 70% of the habitat coastal lagoons is in positive trend of the conservation status. We reduced fragmentation and created new areas of the other habitat, Salicornia and other annuals, which is a favorable area for nesting of bird species. And last, we reached unexpected but very amazing success with greater flamingo, because we had only 5 species individuals in 2014, and this year we have 2,300 individuals, and greater flamingo is now present throughout the year in the lake, which is a great success, and somehow show that the complex action of impact of all conservation activities. And this
Sorry, Kostovska.
Thank you. And for those who are here tomorrow, we can see our conservation activities.